पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणं मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधा भगवते भवद्वेषिणीम्। ओम श्री व्यास महर्षये नमः। ओम श्री कृष्ण परमात्मने नमः। We have entered into the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Geetā, and we have taken some time to get down to the verses, and as you remember, this being a bit slow with getting on to the verses, though we did touch upon 2 verses, is because Adi Shankaracharya, whom we call Bhagavad Ashyakara, gives a little long introduction. And what makes him do so is a lot of people would wonder why Arjuna is asking the same question as he had asked in the 3rd chapter. There also he said, Sri Krishna, you praise sannyasa, you also praise karma yoga. Tell me what is the best for me. And here also in the 5th chapter, if you straight away plunge into the shlokas, the question seems to be very similar. But the answer has a slight difference, and in that slight difference in the answer, we have to see that the topic has moved to a different level. So I'm going to do the remaining 3 paragraphs in the, I wouldn't call it really very long, nor would I call it hard or tough portion of Bhashya. Especially this morning as I was reviewing it, I said, oh, this is pretty simple Sanskrit actually. It can be sometimes some portions of the Bhashya, even for those who know some Sanskrit, might first appear daunting. Oh, what is all these long compounds? But if you work a little on it, you will find that it is not so hard. So this is such portion. So especially as I saw it, I realized on one hand how Adi Shankara is making things clear in a very graceful language, and secondly how it is so necessary before proceeding further. So before I quote Adi Shankara in the remaining 2 or 3 paragraphs that need to be seen, let me tell you, it's extremely simple. Earlier, all humanity were divided, earlier meaning in the 3rd chapter, into just 2 boxes, 2 camps. Those who are having very clear understanding of the pure self in the light of the Shastras, in the light of Guru Upadesha, in the light of their own observation of life, how exactly there awakens in us a certain insight into our own Sakshi Bhava is a mystery by itself. There are great scholars in Kanchi or Kashi who are still very attached to the body. Unfortunately, some Purva Samskaras are holding them back. If you listen to their lectures, if you watch their, if you look at the books they have written, if they see the answers they have given to very hard questions of Vedanta, you will think they are realized. But you will find another day that they still have a certain heartache that some prashasti, some award did not go to them. Then you say, oh, I thought this Shastriji was enlightened, but he is worried about some award that he missed. So then there are some, maybe in some distant village, who don't know Sanskrit, who in fact did not have the advantage of being exposed to all this high Vedanta, but by Shiva's grace, by Guru Kripa, we don't know how, it's a mystery. They are just awakened. They may even be living in a very simple way. Maybe a carpenter, maybe a shepherd, maybe some, some school teacher, something. But they have a certain awakening with them. That actually is in a way good, because that is when you and I will be humble. Otherwise, we will unduly give respect to mere Shastra Jnana and maybe some other family background, etc. Examples after examples show to us that this awakening, this being clear about a spiritual dimension in us, is not to be hastily equated with mere Shastra Jnana. With all due reverence to Shastra Jnana. Now we have many scholars, for example, many learned people sitting at the feet of Mata Amritanandamayi, the hugging Amma, whom the other day Prime Minister Modi also, went and greeted, showed his utmost respect to her. Because this lady who went only up to 4th standard or so in school, and not coming from some big Shastri's family in Sringeri or Kanchi, but from a fisherman's community. But there are so many people having all the advantages with a lot of Sanskrit knowledge and whatnot. They are at her feet. In Karnataka also we have near Chitradurga a certain saint. He also has inspired Mallappa, we call it Mallanna, Sadupasi or Sattupasi Mallanna. I hope to one day go and have his darshan. These people, have clear understanding of the Atma and the Anatma, whereas a lot of us speak, give endless lectures. We are not useless. We are also serving a great purpose. I don't want to very much undervalue people like us. We scholars have a role to play, and society needs people who can speak well on the Gita. But anyway, without going long on it, there are a few people only on the earth who wake them up at 3 a.m. and ask them, are you not worried about that award or this recognition or this wealth? And they would smile and say, who needs that wealth? Who needs name and fame? Who needs to even live long? They have not this body. Allow me to sleep, and they'll go back to sleep. Such clarity. So let us put them on group A, and then vast majority of people in group B, with or without Shastra Jnana, they are actually in their heart attached to things of the world. They are B. Chapter 3 considered only these two camps. In chapter 5, Sri Krishna further divides among those who don't have that supreme clarity. Again, there are two parts. So what was A and B? Now look at it as A, B and C. So what are these B and C? Look, in B and C, B are people who have not risen above their body identification, but they have, thanks to their sadhana, thanks to some purva sanskara, thanks to certain disciplined life, not disciplined life of mere willpower, but it's a combination of will and understanding. When you wake up at 4:30 a.m., it could be a matter of sheer will. Oh, sankalpa, which is also good. We need it sometimes. And it's more beautiful if, along with some willpower, you have a clear understanding that to stay on bed for too long is a dirty thing, and to be up and awake and get down to some nice things to do is a decent, clean thing. So, in Kathopanishad, it is said those who are attached to Indriya Bhoga are Ashuchihi in the Ratha Kalpana. In the chariot example, whoever goes after mere Indriyas, Indriyas are the horses that drive the chariot. And if the Sarathi, the charioteer, is not very clear about things, he allows the horses to take the chariot in any direction. So in Kathopanishad, those 7 or 9 verses which give the metaphor of life being like a journey by chariot, it is said, someone who may be with great Shastrajnana or without Shastrajnana, either way, someone who is attached to pleasures, can't control the senses, is Ashuchi, unclean. And in a different verse, in contrast, the Kathopanishad says, he who has good control over the sense organs is Sada Shuchihi. The previous one is Sada Ashuchihi. So, without going long on it, what is B and C? Among those who do not have that great clarity, there are some who have a high degree of viveka and vairagya, who have a high degree of dispassion, discrimination, who have already reached a high level of refinement, whereas they too are not majority. In a manner of saying, I am not a statistician to give you exact figures, but I use sometimes figure roughly idea. Out of 100, there may be hardly one who is in category A, for whom sannyasa comes naturally. Someone like Swami Tapovanam, he did not have to take the orange robes. He roamed around, and in his life story we find he was so full of vairagya and jnana also. And then somewhere he just took sannyasa. Otherwise also he was so pure. So there is that 1 out of 100, that also is 1 in a million. Then maybe 10 people out of 100 are in group B. They, although they don't have that clarity, spontaneously, without effort, without trying to remember what the Guru said, what the Shastra said, spontaneously they see Anatma as Anatma, and they see themselves as Atma. So this B doesn't have that clarity, but they do have, maybe they have a little jitter, they sometimes wobble a little, they sometimes lose their balance a little, but quickly they realize, oh my God, how can I do this? I don't need this wealth, I don't need this glamour, I don't need this fancy stuff. I don't need some king. In olden days, the kings. These days, some politicians, some people in great with power and position, etc. If we are not mature, we would always be seeking recognition from state government, from central government, from international agencies, some kind of honor. So this B might here and there get a bit tempted. Then he is able to shake that off. Hey, what is this? I don't. I rather study more, meditate more. Such people can take sannyasa and there is a technical word, it's called Vividisha Sannyasa. Vividisha, like the word Jijnasa or Chikirsha or Mumuksha or Bhugutsa, Vividisha means desire to know the truth. In context, to know it with all clarity. So they take sannyas, and a large number of worldly activities they leave. They do have certain duties within that Vividisha sannyasa scheme. They do have to do some upasanas and so on. So let us explain what is C. Group C, God forbid, should not take sannyas. If they take sannyas, sannyas will not help them, they will not help sannyas also. What is meant by this helping? Sannyas will not help them because they will not truly blossom. Because they have taken something for which they are not ready yet. And I said, sannyas won't help them, they won't help sannyas. What is this second sentence? The second sentence is, if such people become sannyasis, they don't bring more honor, more respectability. They don't bring a greater sense of reverence about sannyas in the society. Looking at their examples, people say, oh, yeah, she is a sannyasini, he is a sannyasi, but we are not able to accept or respect them so much. In the process, they do not accept or respect the ashrama of sannyas. Here and there we do find such cases where they don't bring grace to sannyas. So, I hope I have made things quite clear. Earlier there was just A and B. Those who do karma yoga, lokes means vividha nishta. That is the third chapter. Karma yoga and jnana yoga. Now Sri Krishna says, in the camp B, we can divide it into B and C. Or you want to spread nomenclature, B1, B2. So B1 is those who have enhanced vairagya. They may take sannyasa, so it's more sannyasa as a sadhana. Whereas in the case of Swami Tapovan and such people, sannyasa is more an expression of their Atmanishta. They are already well established. So with this introduction, we can quickly go through the remaining paragraphs. They are actually pretty simple. 3 paragraphs we had already covered. So we go to paragraph 3 we saw last time. Shankara says, if you carefully see paragraph 3, in the book I hold it is named or it is numbered 322. I have said before, this is a certain work by Swami Sachidanandana Saraswati. He has numbered the paragraphs by his own choice. So the first sentence in what the paragraph we covered already is Prativachana Vakyartha Nirupanena Api Prashtuha Abhipraya Evameva Iti Gamyate. We can understand what makes Arjuna ask this question. He is the Prashta. Pritchati iti Prashta, one who asks. Prashtuha Abhipraya. We can figure out what he would have had in his mind by Sri Krishna's answer. Because here Sri Krishna says, talking about the level B. For level B, in that B also, the B1, they actually have the choice. Sannyasa karma yoga, nishreyasa karo. So those who have enhanced vairagya and viveka, can stay on for some more time in karma yoga. And when that vairagya becomes very intense, sannyasa will happen in their life. Or they can, realizing that they're clearly seeing that I don't need wealth, social status, etc. anymore. There was a phase when they mattered to me. Now I don't need. And also I don't have such pressing responsibilities. I think I can go for sannyasa with a little bit of, thinking, reevaluation of his or her life. The person goes ahead. For such a person, both are good. If he takes sannyas, very good. If he doesn't, no problem. Sannyasa karma yoga nishreyasa karau ubhavapi. And that is where Shankara Bhāshya ended that paragraph. The last sentence in that paragraph, which we named as, numbered as 3, introduction 3. And in my original book, I said it is 322. The last sentence is Atma vidastu sannyasa karma yogayoho asambhavat tayoho nishreyasa karatva abhidanam karma sannyasacha karma yogo vishishyate iti cha anupapannam. If we try to apply this sentence, both sannyasa and karma yoga are equally good to level A, that would not be appropriate. That's what he said. Anupapannam. It would not be appropriate to say someone who has that extreme, supreme clarity, if you want, you can stay in karma yoga. No. That person with such beautiful clarity, or you want to bring the language of bhakti with the love of God, You can't say something about Saint Mirabai, for example. Don't say, I think in my personal opinion, Mirabai could have stayed in the palace and, continued to be a good wife. And her husband was a pretty much understanding person. He would have given her a lot of freedom. You can't say that about Mirabai. This last sentence is about Mirabai. If I take the liberty of connecting it to Bhakti Marga, Bhakti and Dana have so much of parallel. So Anupapannam, Mirayaha evam karmayogaha api nishreyasakaraha, sannyasaha api nishreyasakaraha. She could have done one of the two. No. With that intense Krishna Bhakti, she could not and she should not. For even the benefit of Samaja, society, somebody like Saint Meera should not stay. In Karnataka, we had a lady, Akka Mahadevi. From birth onwards, she was into Shiva Bhakti. And there are such saints in everywhere, in Orissa, Rajasthan, in Bengal, or in Maharashtra, anywhere you go. Our land has been blessed with some cases. So, for them you can't say they could have stayed in Karma Yoga. They are Atmavit. Atmavit. They know. Meera had such clear understanding and such excitement about her Mere to Giridhar Gopal, about Giridhar Gopal. For them, you could do both, but Karma Yoga is a little better for you. That doesn't apply. Karma Sannyasacha, Karma Yoga Vishishyate, iti cha Anupapanna. They are level A. So continuing this today, this morning in India, this evening in the West, the paragraph 4 says, Atra aha. Here, this Purapakshi, the imagined opponent, again asks a question. Kim Atmavidaha Sannyasa Karma Yogayoho Ubayoropi Asambhavaha? Ahos with Anyatarasya Asambhavaha. Yadacha Anyatarasya Asambhavaha Tada Kim Karma Sannyasasya Uta Karma Yogasya Iti. Asambhave Karanam Cha Vaktavyam. So this question I'll explain briefly. The answer to this say one put a pencil on the board. Introductory Bhāshya. It's a delight and clarity about the pure self. So if this person in group A is said to not take karma yoga or vividisha sannyasa, which of the two is asambhava? Which of the two is hard? Are both of them inapplicable or one of them inapplicable? If you say for that person in A, B1 and B2 or B and C, both are inapplicable, tell me the reason. If you say one of them is inapplicable, tell me the reason. Kim karanam? Karanam cha vaktavyam, says Purvapakshi. And Siddhanti, the champion of the true school, with all patience replies. And especially if you understand the first nivritta vidya jnanatvat viparya jnana mulasya karma yogasya asambhavahasya. Karma yoga is impossible. I think the example of Meera, though she was a champion of bhakti, would fit in very well here. Whether her husband, the king of that country, or relatives, friends, though these people, any of them or all of them together, suppose had put her in the palace and prevented her, she would have found some way to go out. She cannot, that state of consciousness, that, liberated consciousness or almost liberated consciousness will not allow you to stay in that B or C. So why are you so particular that those people in group A have to take sannyasa? Not only have to, they will take sannyasa. Why do you say it? One expression in Shankara Bhāshya is so crisp. Nivritta mithya jnanatvat. Their mithya jnana, that means even traces of the notion that I am the body, traces of notion, I am this man's wife. This Anandamayi Ma, not Amritanandamayi. Amritanandamayi also like that, but Anandamayi Ma married also. And I have said this perhaps in some earlier class. She married and she was living with her husband, and the husband was puzzled to see her behavior, but it's okay. He used to get guests at home, and she would prepare something to offer some hospitality. But on occasions, she was in some other state of mind. The husband perhaps made some alternative arrangement. But on one occasion, he brought some guests, maybe 2 or 3 of his friends, and said to her, she was sitting on the ground, poor, little house, I guess in what is today Bangladesh. She was born in Bangladesh, but later on moved to West Bengal and then all over the present India. She moved. She went all over India mainly. But this story must have been in some village. Small, simple house, no proper furniture also. I read about it. She was sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall, and some kind of, the husband thought she is asleep. Or he said, what are you doing? Sitting there. Prepare something. I brought 2 guests. She opens her eyes but doesn't respond. And then he shouts something like, what does he say? He says something. What do you think? You are God or something. What do you think? The words may be slightly different. At that moment she says, I don't think I am Brahman. I know I am Brahman, and again closes her eyes. So that day she won't get up at all. So, asambhava. Karma yogasya asambhavahasya. For Meera, for Anandamayi, for Amritanandamayi, for Sattupasi, there are such, they have risen to a different level. Why or how? Nityajnana in their case, Nivritta has gone for good. They won't re-identify with the body. And Shankara speaks certain words here which would not be pleasing at all to people attached to karma. Therefore, no wonder a lot of people keep away from Adi Shankara. They criticize him also. They mix up things. He mainly stood for Atmajnana, but when they get sore with him, they blame that, oh, he made everybody take sannyas. He promoted the caste system. He did this, he did that. So if you read some, criticism of Shankara by people who have not studied his works, who have not taken a dip in this beautiful Atmajnana, for them, the whole angles of view are different. And then they jump to conclusions. I'm referring to the next sentence. Viparya Jnana Moolasya Karma Yogasya. Long back, I think in 1985 or so, I was trying to study Shankara Bhāshya, and somewhere else, maybe it has come before, second chapter or somewhere, there is a sentence, Ajnasya eva karma yoga. I shook as a brahmachari in Pujya Swami Chinmayananji's ashram. I shook. What? Because those days I had read more of Gandhi's praise of Karma Yoga or Tilak's praise of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga was a hallowed word. Karma Yoga was something not to be criticized. And Shankara Bhāshya, somewhere else in the same book, says Karma Yoga is meant for ignorant people. I said, what is this? In fact, to be frank, I sort of understood it logically, but did not deeply appreciate it at that time. But today, after all these years, I know what Adi Shankara is saying. He sees with such clarity those who have identification with the personality and those whose identification with the personality, male or female, what caste, what nationality, what educational qualification, 100 things make our personality. When we ask ourselves, who am I? 100 answers come. Now, once more, Adi Shankara and Ramana go together. Ramana would also say, bundle all of them, those 100 answers. I am from this community, I am from such a state, my mother tongue is this, and I did, law, LLB, and then Master of Law in such place. How many answers come in our mind, don't they? And sometimes the other person just asked, what are you doing, sir? That's all. Instead of just saying, I am a lawyer in, some town, Pune, we, because of identification with our personality so much, some of us do that. I am a lawyer, I practice law in Pune, and I did my law from such and such college, and my wife also is an advocate, blah, 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 blah. Who asks so much? And in the present context, it shows our tight embrace of 100 other answers to who am I, and we go blank to the one answer that Vedanta used to us. I am Satchit. Does it come to us? So, those who are very much identified, which is not wrong. See, Karma Yoga, when it is said Karma Yoga is for the ignorant, it in no way means Karma Yoga is something bad, something adharma. On the contrary, Karma Yoga is wonderful, but see the context. who should be in karma yoga, who should go for sannyasa. In that context, those who have knowledge of the self should go for sannyasa. Those who don't have knowledge of the self, whose knowledge consistently says to them, you are such and such person, you are a lawyer, you are an agriculturist, you are a college professor. Wake them up at 3 a.m. What are you? I am head of department of botany in such and such college, and again go to sleep. Those who have such strong identification with the personality, which is talking of all of us, hardly. I joke sometimes that some Swamis also who may talk very well on Vedanta in a manner of saying, wake them up at 3 a.m. They would have given a great lecture previous evening on how I am Brahman, everyone is Brahman. Wake them up. What are you? They would say, I am a wonderful speaker on Brahman. You understand? They have the identification of being a scholar of Vedanta. They may not have. Whereas those enlightened ones, the group A, they don't care about giving lectures or writing books. They may, nothing prevents them from doing that. But primarily, they know they are the silence amidst noise. They are the peace amidst all disturbance. They are the deathless spirit amidst death and everything going on around. So, in order to do karma yoga, you need to have a sense of this is good work. Thousands of people will be benefited. Let me do it. This is how to have. So, I am a doer. I will do this good work. Thousands of people will be benefited. All this proceed from a basic identification with the Samaja Seva Karta. So Shankara goes very deep here and says, Karma Yoga has Viparyaya Jnana, that is contrary knowledge, as the Moola. Then who are these people? Either in A or even in the upper B1, or when you make it into B and C, B. He gives a beautiful description. Janmadi sarva vikriya rahitattvena nishkriyam atmanam atmatvena yo vetti. Already I said this in English. One who knows oneself to be having no birth and death, to be having no modification, not into any kriya at all. Before we do Samaja Seva, we must have a notion that I am someone who can do either this good work or that bad work. Then we choose. I don't want to do bad work. I will do this good work. And then we go ahead. Right? So, kartatva. But here in this person's case, nishkriyam atmanam yovetti. Tasya atmavidaha, to that person who is A or B1, samyak darshanena, because of samyak darshana, apasta mityajnanasya. Earlier it was a nivritta mityajnana. Here apasta mityajnana. Mityajnana has gone away. And what is his state of being then? Nishkriya atma swarupa avasthana lakshanam sarva karma sannyasam uktva. The Shastra says such people not only are permitted to take sannyasa, they are advised to take sannyasa. They are requested to take sannyasa, and I would add, they will take sannyasa anyhow. Tad viparitasya. Now coming again to B and C. Mityajnana moola kartatva abhimana purasarasya. Once more, I have said this in English. Kartatva abhimana purasara. Proceeding from that identification, which is I am a doer, right? So, time and again, no one should get confused here. This is not a sweeping condemnation of karma yoga, but it is said there is papa karma in our life, there is punya karma. But beyond Papa Karma and Punya Karma, there is the sannyasa, which goes beyond Punya and Papa. So, Mithya Jnana Mula Kartrutva Abhimana Purasarasya Sattviya Atma Swarupa Avastha in Geetā Shānkara is hard. But with practice, you not only find he is very simple, but he is so sweet. The expressions are so beautiful, precision, grace, and beauty of language, everything. So, who are these people? They are also established. Level A is established in Nishkriya Atma. Level B and C, especially C, Sakriya Atma Swarupa Avasthana. So ask yourself a question. Am I anchored in a sense of non-doership, or am I strongly anchored in a sense of doership? All of us, without batting an eyelid would say, I am very much anchored in a sense of doership. In fact, today, after this class, I have to do this. In the evening, I have to do this. And in the next 2 years, I will achieve this. In the next 5 years, I will establish that. All of us have ideas. So we are Sakriya Atma Avasthana. Level A is Nishkriya Atma Swarupa Avastitaha. So Karma Yoga is meant for those who are, it's not bad, there are Samaja Seva Kartas are good, but they are not near the liberation. They have not come to the portals of liberation. So Karma Yoga Syaha Shastre Tatra Tatra Atma Swarupa Nirupana Pradeshesha Samyagdana Mityajnana Tat Karya Virodhat Abhavaha Pratpadyate. On one hand, there is Samyagdana, right knowledge. On the other, there is Mithya-jnana, and there is an opposition. You and I would do well to have in mind those 3 levels. Level C, where Karma Yoga is the only option. Level B, because of a high degree of Vairagya, you can take sannyasa as a sadhana. Level A, sannyasa comes naturally to you. So it's good to know the 3 levels, and then we may be at level C, some of us may be in level B. So according to an understanding of where we stand, where we belong, honestly, we must go by that. We must not pretend to be either in a higher level, nor should we unnecessarily trying to be modest or humble or something, put ourselves on a level lower than us. Be true to yourself, not with arrogance, but with a clear understanding. If you have done, let us say, PhD in zoology, somebody asks you, what is your qualification? There's nothing wrong in saying, I am a PhD in zoology. Don't say, I never went to school, That is not true. But don't say I am PhD in zoology with some kind of holier than thou attitude. So this applies in all fields. Here, many places where such topics come, tatra tatra. In Sanskrit, when you repeat tatra tatra, if you translate it literally, there. In English, we will say tatra tatra means at various places, at different places. Tatra tatra pratipadyate. Yasmat. Now the last line also is very beautiful. Tasmat. Yasmat means because. Tasmat means therefore. Atmavidaha nivritta mityajnanasya viparyajnana mulaha karma yoga na sambhavati. For level A, for the camp A, karma yoga is impossible. For camp B, karma yoga can be an option. For camp C, karma yoga is a must. They have no options. Quickly, there is a short paragraph. We'll do this. Please bear with me. These are such significant clarifications by Adi Shankara that We should not go too fast also. So I plan to complete this introductory Bhāshya. Just number 6 will remain. Number 7 we have already done actually. Now number 7 is a linking paragraph. So that is more connected to the shloka which is coming up. In the so-called intro, we have 5 and 6, but we will do 5 now. The 5, paragraph 5, number 324 in the original. One or two among you may be having that book which I hold. The Purva Pakshi asked, all right. Would you mind telling me where, in which places in Gita, level A is pointed out? People belonging to that spontaneous abidance in the self. I gave the example of Meera. For her, it was spontaneous binding, connection, spontaneous connection with Krishna. Krishna is everything. She did not have to put in effort. For he spontaneously identified with the social causes, equality of people. These days, of course, there is some debate about whether he was perfect. Perhaps he was not. Maybe he too committed some blunders. That's okay. But there is no denying. He was so bound to ahimsa. So certain things came spontaneously to him. He became synonymous. So even Martin Luther King Jr. in the United States, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, etc., were so touched by Gandhi's commitment to ahimsa. But let me say, with no disrespect at all to Gandhi, Gandhi was far away from seeing himself as akarta, abhokta. Maybe he sort of understood at times and respected it, but he was anchored in V. He was not C, in V. He could have taken Vividisha sannyasa, but that was not God's will. If Gandhi had taken sannyas and said, I have done enough social service, now I will get more into Atmadnana, because he had already developed Viveka Vairagya quite well. He was a very saintly person after all. Maybe in that Vividisha sannyasa, he would have gone pretty fast, further up. But no, he dedicated his whole life according to his own paradigm. His own paradigm. Some of the dimensions of his paradigm are nowadays much criticized. Many people believe that those days also there was the criticism, but these days there is more of his criticism of him with respect to certain impartiality. Was he impartial, equal-minded towards Muslims and Hindus, or for some reason known to him, God knows, was he always, etc.? The debates are up. Anyway, the question is, where is in Gita, where are the sentences? And with respect to level A, not about B or C. The Siddhanti answers. Question is, Keshu Keshu Punaha Atmaswarupa Nirupana Pradesheshu Atmavidaha Karma Abhavaha Pratipadyate. Answer is Atra Uchyate. So many shlokas. Avinashitu tadviddi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. 217. And I'm especially prone to quote the next one, which is wonderful. 219. Whoever thinks they are the doer, or whoever thinks that somebody is acting upon them, whoever thinks they are the subject, whoever thinks they are the object of an action, ubhau tauna vijanitaha nayam hantina hanyate. That is the 219. You are neither a doer, nor can you ever be the object of somebody else's doing. That is, You neither take a hammer and hit a piece of wood. If you are the one hitting a piece of wood with a hammer, you are the doer. Nor can anyone under the sun come and hit you with a hammer. If somebody hits you with a hammer, you are the object. That's what is. You are neither the subject nor the object. Then 221. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katam sapurusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. So there are three things. I don't do, no one can do anything to me, and I don't cause somebody to do anything. Hanti is you killing. Ghatayati is you make somebody kill. You say, go and kill him. No. You are nishkriya, that is free of doership, 100%. This has been said, it is being said in this chapter 5, and it will be said all the way till 18th chapter. And those lines in the Bhagavad Geetā supporting this, this understanding of oneself as not a party to any action or in any manner, makes the category A. And on this earth, even today, and for all time to come, there will always be a few people, handful people probably, in different parts of the world, who are in A. And a large number of us are in B. Then a larger number is on the level C. So this clarity will help understand Advaita Vedanta especially much better. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. All right, that was a good question. Okay. All right, someone has said Happy Onam. So is it Onam? All right, thank you. So we continue next Tuesday evening in the west, Wednesday morning in the east. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.